and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. Before we get to the show, let's get the pleasantries out of the way.
First of all, our website. If you want more information about our little podcast, go to wearethecontrarians.com. That's where you'll find links to our old episodes, to our Patreon channel, and to our awesome Contrarians merch.
You can show your support by buying a Contrarians mug or a pillow.
I like the laptop bags myself.
Second of all, if you enjoy the show, tell your friends. Or even go a step further and leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts.
Finally, if you want to reach out directly to us, that's what social media is for. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Contrarian Prime, or check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
Julio runs our official Twitter account at Contrarian Prime, but if you want to give me a piece of your mind or just want to banter about pro wrestling, you can follow me at Contrarian Alex.
That's it. That's our intro.
Now, time for the show.
This is our lesson.
And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for About a Boy.
Put this off as long as I could, but we finally have arrived at a Hugh Grant film here. A Hugh Grant vehicle, because as we discussed in leading into this, we've done... was it Cloud Atlas that he was in?
Cloud Atlas. We got multiple versions of Hugh Grant.
So he has been on our show before as a featured player, but never in full, unadulterated, heartthrob Hugh Grant form. So,
no, he ate people in Cloud Atlas.
This is true. So, welcome to the podcast, Hugh Grant, and welcome you, the listening public, to the Contrarians, where we're right and you are wrong. My name is Alex, joined as always by my friend, my cohort, my podcasting brother down the path of the contrary, Julio Oliveira. Julio, dipping our toes back into the romantic comedy field. And like I said, we have a huge presence from his time period, the 90s and early 2000s, in Hugh Grant, but also Toni Collette, and one of your favorites, Rachel Weisz, is making an appearance.
I feel like you're almost bearing the lead, though, because this is the film debut of one Nicholas Hoult.
And introducing.
Introducing. I wonder if they knew when they gave him the introducing credit that years later he was still going to be at it, just popping up everywhere, infuriating Alex with his success.
I mean, it's true, but we'll get to that in the second half. Julio, are you excited to discuss this? This Robert De Niro produced film?
I saw that. Was he a fan of the book? Is he a Hugh Grant stan?
You got to imagine at that point, like, guys like that, their name ends up on shit that they don't know about, like, for years.
He just signs stuff. And like early in the morning, he hasn't even had his morning coffee, and his agent's just making him sign stuff.
I mean, there's a very real chance he still doesn't know his name is on this movie, but
he hasn't even seen About a Boy. He doesn't know who Nicholas Hoult is.
Well, for better or for worse, we're here today to discuss this. And Julio, let's just get into it. Why is this on our table today?
All right. Well, the patron invasion continues. Now, this is coming from Jamie Russell, who is one of those patrons that has actually been giving us picks from time to time. Jamie, he sent us a little note to be read in Real Talk. So that's what we'll get to, why he gave us this movie. But I don't know that it ever would have crossed my mind to do this movie. Like, I don't think I knew that it was this fresh. It's like 93%.
Yeah.
Prime Contrarians Material.
Yeah, that's true. Let me double check on that. But I was shocked to find that. I mean, I guess people were still under the spell of Hugh Grant. Yep, 93%. And it's got that certified fresh logo on it, so you know it's legit. With
like 500 reviews.
With a conflicting...
I think it's like 187.
With a conflicting audience score of 55%.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Did it get the tub of popcorn that's falling over?
The green tub of popcorn done spilled on About a Boy. Well, Jamie, thank you. And thank you, of course, to all our patrons, but we'll get to that here in the second half. So for now, we'll just get into what any new listeners will need, and that's why we're here and what we're doing. Here on the Contrarians, myself and Julio, we like to rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. That is our battle cry. We'll find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is highly rated, and like today's, a lot of time accompanied with that lovely IP, that trademark logo, certified fresh, to let you know it's really good. It's not just good, it's really good. And what we'll do with those is, kind of cut them down to size, talk about aspects of the movie that maybe don't warrant that high rating, be it, bad supporting acting, questionable storytelling choices, poor direction, bad score, bad soundtrack.
Grading child performances.
Yes, I mean that's one we come back to pretty regularly, and I thank God that Nicholas Hoult provides us with plenty of material for that. But really, whatever we can just kind of latch on to. And conversely, we'll find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is lowly rated, one of those nasty green splotches known as rotten, typically about 30% and below. And as you could guess, we'll make a case for the film's positive merit, things that that low rating may not indicate are good. Good supporting acting, great soundtrack, score, cinematography, whatever it takes to say, hey, but this score isn't really warranted. We do this for I always say two reasons. One of them is so Julio and I can have a podcast and meet once a week and talk about movies. But our mission statement boils down to two things. Number one, art is subjective. And if you set your mind to it, you can be as over the moon about something or as downright cynical about something as you want to be. And also, the Rotten Tomatoes system is not inherently flawed, but we find a lot of times people don't always know what that percentage score means. And, that it doesn't always tell the whole story about the movie and some of its quality or non-quality aspects. But this all comprises the first half of our episodes. We call it Contrarians Corner. Julio, if listeners want to know how we really feel about the movie du jour, the movie we're tackling, in this case about a boy, they just have to stick around and tune into part 2, the second half of the show.
That is correct. Part 2, the aptly titled Real Talk, is where we tell you how we really feel. We forget about the Tomatometer, forget about the gimmick, and we just tell you about our experience watching the movie, whether it's the first time or repeat watch. I remember watching this one when it first came out, so it's obviously been several years, but I've had an opinion of the kind of movie I thought About a Boy was, and now that I've revisited, I also have to revise that opinion and just update it now that I'm a grown man. Alex, is this a first time watch for you?
Of course. Why would I have ever watched this movie before?
I don't know. Hugh Grant. Toni Collette.
I do like Toni Collette and I do like Rachel Weisz, so I can see that.
There you go. So we don't know anything about how the other one feels when it comes to About a Boy. I guess we both like American Pie, so that will be a point of discussion going forward.
What? What do they have to do with each other?
Are you kidding me? Have you done no research, sir? Did you see who directed this movie?
No. Oh,
it's directed by the Weitz brothers.
Okay, well, there you go.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up because I have a quote coming up, I think in Real Talk, that mentions that. Yeah, so as you can see, there's lots of unmined material for Real Talk. But first, because this movie is super fresh, we are going to talk about it as if it was super rotten. That's what Contrarians Corner is going to be about.
Hey, 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 it's Santa's super sleigh. I expect people do that all the time.
Oh, no, I think you two are the first.
Sorry. I don't understand. How does that make you money? Carol singers have to pay a 10%.
Well, they should, yeah, but you can't always catch the little bastards.
All right, About a Boy, Julio. We're going back to 2002. Released in May 17th of 2002 here in America. Originally in the United Kingdom, they got the first run of it in April 26th of 2002. Because, that damn Hugh Grant's just so fucking over, and on that side of the world. So they had to get that out for 3 weeks ahead of time. And, joking aside, it obviously paid off because this, on a $30 million budget, made $130 million. So there you go. Based on the book About a Boy by Nick Hornby. 93%. Hit me with some quotes, Julio. What were the critics saying or have been saying for the past 20 years?
Okay, out of the sea of red tomatoes, I plucked 4 quotes. We're going to start with Phil Villarreal from the Arizona Daily Star. And he says, about this boy, Hugh Grant, he's quite a formidable comedic presence. He had to. I had to put a pun there. This is not even a pun. It's like a turn of phrase?
Yeah.
About this boy, Hugh Grant. They knew by now. I mean, I find it hard to believe that this is the movie where somebody went, oh, Hugh Grant is funny. I think that if you find Hugh Grant funny, you find him funny from the beginning, right? I don't know, 4 Waynes and the Funeral. I think that was his big... That was when we were first blessed/cursed with the Hugh Grant persona.
I guess so. I was trying to see what he was doing coming into this. Because, he kind of...
Like, this is not like Robert De Niro suddenly, starring in Meet the Fockers or Meet the Parents or Analyze This, where it's like, oh, he's dramatic. Oh, it turns out that he can do comedy. It was like Hugh Grant was doing comedies.
So Hugh Grant was coming off of 2 weeks' notice with Sandra Bullock and the Bridget Jones Diary the year before, which, if I recall correctly, wasn't that like a smash hit?
Yeah. Also, both of them hard-hitting dramas. No wonder Phil Villarreal was like, what? Comedy? Hugh Grant? Mind blown.
God, I forgot just the onslaught of his romantic comedies through the 90s and into the 2000s, because Notting Hill was in 99, as was Mickey Blue Eyes. And you want to talk about like the most cliche movie posters you've ever seen. That's like all he put together.
His face in front and center, and then his female co-star to the side.
Yep, on all of them.
All right, well, let's move on to Joe Morgenstern from the Wall Street Journal, who says, About a Boy is better than a feel-good movie. It's a feel-great movie. Genuinely clever, affecting you when you least expect it to be, and funny from start to finish. So, not Goodfellas, but great fellas. Okay, I agree with him on one thing, and that is that it definitely takes some left turns, this movie. Just when you think you're settling in and you know what's going to happen, shit gets dark. But that doesn't mean that's good. Yeah. Not every movie can be like Loser and pull it off when you have like suicide attempts or, stuff of that caliber. Next, Harvey S. Carton from CompuServe says, what could have been an unctuous sitcom is instead an earthy, witty, enchanting look at a swinging bachelor who never knew what he was missing. That's almost like what the trailer would say.
Yeah, that's the elevator pitch right there.
Yeah. Alex, you are a swinging bachelor. I am not a swinging bachelor anymore. But I remember my days as a swinging bachelor, and I would feel a little insulted by this movie trying to tell me that my life is not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Did you feel attacked by About a Boy?
Oh yeah, and this is like one of those hilarious movies. We've argued a lot about. If you go back to our Twilight episode, we read some reviews that talk about all movies these days just vilify having kids as some curse, and this one hilariously so. I don't think all movies do that. I would argue that's not the case, but this one is kind of like, man, look at this guy's life. If he had kids, it would be ruined. Like if he was married and had children, he wouldn't have his fucking awesome modern apartment and his cool clothes and his ability to just go out on the town and whatnot. I know that common wisdom and a lot of people would tell you that lifelong bachelors are unfulfilled and, want more out of life. And, I'm still view myself as a young man, so I don't know if I can speak to that quite yet. But this one vilifies bachelorhood. It's like you need to get out and find someone and have a fucking kid. That's your responsibility, damn it.
Advance humanity. Yeah, it's and we'll get into it, but it's just that weird message of, on one hand, you're portraying the bachelor life as being awesome, while trying to tell me that no matter what, it's even better because this guy, no, he's not having as much fun as you think. He's actually deep down, he's really sad and lonely, and needs Nicholas Hoult to really complete him. I'm gonna close with Contrarian's favorite, Ken Hankey from Mountain Express, Asheville, North Carolina, who says, a pretty extreme leap for two guys whose previous idea of both unorthodox and sophistication consisted of utilizing a pie in a way Mrs. Smith never had in mind. You get it, Alex?
I do.
Because they directed American Pie.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making 2 movies that made a shit ton of money. So,
But well, I mean, I don't remember. But did they advertise this as from the directors of American Pie?
I would highly doubt it because this is a PG-13. It's like the death sentence poster from the directors of American Pie comes a story about love in all the wrong places.
Every time Hugh Grant goes to the kitchen, you start wondering what's going to happen. Well, those are the quotes, Alex. The table is set. Take us to Contrarians Corner.
In my opinion, all men are islands. And what's more, now's the time to be one. This is an island age.
Will Freeman lives a carefree lifestyle without any responsibility or commitments thanks to royalties left to him by his father's successful Christmas song. Will joins the Single Parents Alone Together, SPAT, community group under the pretense that he is a father to an imaginary kid. Ned is the name of the kid, but instead aims to meet single mothers. Will meets Susie, who he is attracted to, but also meets Marcus, the socially awkward son of one of Susie's friends, unexpectedly on a planned playdate. When Will and Susie take Marcus home, they find Marcus's mother, Fiona, who suffers from bouts of depression, has attempted suicide and rush her to the hospital in time. Now, this sounds like a great time at the movies.
Yes. This is directed by, I don't know, somebody that's just one of those hard-hitting...
Michael Haneke.
Michael. Yeah, I mean, why not? Sidney Pollack.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah, it's just not... But then they tell you, oh, but it stars Hugh Grant. You're like, wait, what?
You're catching me off guard here. What the fuck's going on? So, Universal Signature to start it. Always got to call that out. I thought I started the wrong movie when this came on because we just get the audio of an episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's like Slumdog. Do we watch? Did I pick the wrong movie?
What does that do for you when you hear Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Because that's not a thing anymore, right? I mean, if it's still that's not.
I didn't know
that ended.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's on in any country still or anything, but like that was a fucking cultural sensation. Regis,
for like a year, 2 years.
Who wants to be a millionaire? But yeah, I mean, I think of Regis, and I'm always going to think of Slumdog now. The acceptance I had that's a good movie when we recorded our episode on that.
So what you're saying is this is just a cheap trick from the Weitz brothers to get on your good side.
I guess, yeah. It's the British version, and like, there's really not enough time to fixate on it because you're beaten over the head with the fact that this movie is going to feature a Hugh Grant voiceover, which is this movie is just like, if you put on paper these names and this, the shoestring premise of this, it's just all the shit people would start yelling at the screen. All right. Or the blackboard, excuse me. All right, Hugh Grant has to do a voiceover. But then when the kid comes in, the kid does a voiceover. All right, it's a whole fucking stockpile of cliches.
Can this kid sing? Doesn't matter. Make him sing.
It's even funnier if he can't. So, yeah, the parts are there. We get the introducing Nicholas Hoult, and I'd say, do we have to?
A chill goes down your spine.
Can we put him back?
I think we because most episodes you will do the disclaimer and I will join. We are like, you know what, we're not gonna get actors. I mean, they have it hard enough to begin with. We're not gonna harp on them, whatever. But I think that we have a nice out in this case because we know Nicholas Hoult grows up to take over Hollywood and become an X-Men and so on. So I think it's okay to pick on him a little.
That fucker. He's one of those actors that there's a separate Wikipedia page just for his performances. So fuck him. We can be mean to him all we want. Anyone who is in Dark Phoenix is not a sacred cow, and I'm sorry that includes you, Mr. Fassbender.
Yeah. Holt has X-Men money to burn. So
this movie, it does kind of something that I don't miss in movies. The pendulum doth swing when it comes to filmmaking in movies, and I think we've gone to the extremes. And now I think there's this craze of demonstrating that people with kids can still have fun lives. Whereas throughout the 80s and 90s and kind of the death rattle into the early 2000s, the thing was like, I don't know how she does it. The type of movie of, these people with kids are just so like disheveled and, oh man, their lives are so tough. But then the other side of the coin was shit like this, where movies vilify people like viciously that don't want to have kids. Because, this movie makes Hugh Grant look like the biggest sack of shit in the world because he doesn't want to have kids.
Dude, but the worst part is that this movie is basically those people, because those people exist, the people that just won't back off when you tell them that you don't want to have kids. As somebody who proudly and loudly proclaims that I don't want to have kids, like both me and my wife decided that a long time ago. And I would say 75% of the time, that statement, and it's not like we, go looking for it, but whenever somebody asks and we're like, no, I don't really want to, I would say 75% of the time, that statement is met with disbelief and just kind of this eye roll as in like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is. This movie, it's the essence of that. It's stretched over 90 minutes, 100 minutes. It's a movie that is 100% convinced that anybody's life is automatically improved if you have a child being part of it.
But they don't even like show that well, because like all of the shots of Hugh Grant's apartment, it's like, God, this dude's life is awesome. And then, Toni Collette and her house is like a fucking mess. But I do, I don't know. I used to think it was cool or like kind of fun to hold babies when I was younger. But now like I related to Hugh Grant so much when they just like hand this baby to him and he's holding it like, you would hold like a plant or like how you would hold like a pot roast or something that you're getting ready to put into the oven or the skillet. But he, the movie, this part here in the beginning where his friends try to make him a godfather for their baby, he rightly says, I'm the worst possible option for that. But then the movie tries to make him like the bad guy for that.
Well, yeah, because the movie has to push it. They can't just have it, him saying, hey, I'm not a good idea. It's not a good idea. I'm not a good candidate. But then he goes on and rambles on about how, like, when that little girl grows up, he's probably going to try to hook up with her. And it's like, dude, come on.
Quit while you're ahead, Hugh.
Yeah.
I can relate to some of it because this thing of just like not wanting to have kids and then him figuring out that like single moms are perfect for the bachelor life. He's like passionate sex and then, inevitably they're damaged somehow and then you kind of get in and get out. And I'm like, man,
he has not watched Jerry Maguire.
I get that, Hugh. But it's a different era, man. Imagine if like something like this was released now and we were supposed to find this funny. This guy's like manipulating and taking advantage of these women, and it's supposed to be charming what he's doing because we know he's going to learn his lesson in the end. This is why romantic comedies by and large don't exist anymore, because as many great romantic comedies as there have been, by and large the tropes in them are fairly problematic and don't hold up to modern scrutiny.
Yeah, I think that Hugh Grant maybe makes it 30 minutes before being completely canceled, and that's the end of the movie.
Single mums. Why hadn't anyone told me about them before? Passionate sex, a lot of ego massage, and a guilt-free parting. And there must be thousands of them just waiting for a nice guy to sleep with and break up with. Fabulous, sexy, gorgeous single mums.
I guess the Wise brothers and Nick Hornby, they're fans of Fight Club because he does.
Can't wait to see where this goes.
Because he infiltrates the support group. Like Edward Norton infiltrates the support groups in Fight Club. Now, Norton's not trying to hook up. Norton's just trying to find peace of mind. But here, he infiltrates the single moms group. And there's this whole sequence where he's just there faking it and making up stuff. And then the worst part is it works. I thought that this was going to be something that proved that, oh, man can be so stupid. He thinks that this is the perfect way to pick up single moms. And God damn it, he picks up a single mom.
That is the fantasy of this movie, is that he's smarter than women, as we know and always trumpet. It's not the case. Women are by and large more intelligent than men. This is
almost as dumb as when in Kin, the older brother is going to pretend that Dennis Quaid's still alive. It was like he lies about having a 2-year-old son and then goes on dates with this single mother that obviously is going to wonder where the little kid is.
As if there's no way to determine, the situation at hand.
All he has to do is buy a car seat and put some potato chips on it. That's it.
Marcus, Nicholas Hoult, appears, and when it's his part of the story, he does the voiceover versus Hugh Grant, and it's just so impish and whimsical. And we're introduced to Toni Collette, who plays Fiona. She's the single mother of Marcus, and despite getting a prominent billing in this, I still can't help but feel they could have gotten more out of Toni Collette, because as we read about, she attempts suicide, and then she's just kind of out of the movie for a while, and then has like 3 scenes throughout the remainder of it. And again, this is Toni Collette we're talking about, so I feel that we could have spent less time with this dude hanging out with a little kid and figured out a way for Toni Collette to have some more screen time.
I think the problem is that when she comes in strong, and the movie can't handle that. It's weird. I don't know how you make this work, Alex. Toni Collette is a great actress, but this is mostly pitched as a comedy, and most of her scenes are just very dramatic and sad. And, there's a woman that's dealing with some heavy shit, and she tries to kill herself. And I don't know how you fix it. Like, as far as the structure of the movie, right? You're having fun. You're just following Hugh Grant's fluffy adventures, and then everything comes to a screeching halt when Toni Collette is there. Because this movie, as dumb as it is, at least it kind of knows that there's no easy fix for the Toni Collette problem. It's like she's depressed. She's suffering from depression. That's Hugh Grant can't fix that. And for all its missteps, the movie at least acknowledges that. But the problem is that that's still there. It's part of the movie. You have a character that is just going through some really serious stuff. And next to that, the rest of the movie just feels kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, she does have depression and attempts to take her own life. And it's a bit of a tone shock for this. You remember when movies like that ended up having a light and fun tone would just like haphazardly introduce some insane aspect to it that involved death or mortality in some way. And it's not like we hear about it via phone call. They find her barely responding, kind of covered in vomit on the couch. It's a bit of a shock to the system for the tone we've set so far with Hugh Grant not knowing how to hold a baby.
From the directors of American Pie.
That's the Criterion cover, is Toni Collette passed out on the couch with the vomit on herself. And it says, about a boy. And then on the back, from the directors of American Pie, and featuring an essay by Peter Travers or somebody on... Would it be in color or black and white, though? It would have to be black and white.
It's black and white, and you have the option of watching the movie without any soundtrack or incidental music.
The only thing that has color in the movie is Rachel Weisz's red dress. I was about to say, I'm just anxious to get to a real fucking star, and Rachel Weisz doesn't come in until the end of the second act. So Toni Collette, I asked a question, and I haven't allowed you to answer, Julio. This is a bit much for the movie we're watching.
Yes, 100%. It just completely throws the movie off balance, and we never recover. Because I don't know about you, but as the movie moved past this suicide attempt and tried to get back into the groove of, this is just about Hugh Grant learning to be a better person. The specter of the suicide attempt just hovers over the rest of the movie. I mean, maybe it's just because when you watch this movie as an adult, like this is not a one and done. A suicide attempt has long-lasting consequences, and you just know that the Toni Collette character is there, kind of like as a time bomb of like, okay, when are we gonna get the next big dramatic moment, and that kind of keeps you from enjoying all the light stuff. Hugh Grant going on dates and Hugh Grant watching TV or whatever. That's it's kind of uncomfortable to watch it because you just know that tragedy is just around the corner. And eventually it happens. After about an hour of movie, we come to a scene where Toni Collette is crying again. And you're like, oh God, here it is. What I was fearing the entire movie. And it comes to pass. So I just couldn't really enjoy myself after that.
They literally try to like explain it away in one scene where she's like, well, I feel okay today. All right. So we're good then.
Yeah, you know what we need? We need a Toni Collette voiceover
God,
so that we could really believe that she was okay.
I know that's rarely done because it distracts and confuses the audience, but this is one of those movies that could have, I think, benefited if every character we encounter, of consequence. So Hugh Grant, Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, Rachel Weisz, and then maybe one other character have their own voiceovers. But not to be. Not
The
everyone.
girl, what's her name? Ellie? Elle? The girl that befriends.
The one that Marcus has a crush on. Yeah.
Mhm.
We get a montage of like the fallout of this. Hugh Grant is very self-obsessed and doesn't really want anything to do with this kid, despite this kid being determined to make a friendship out of this or something. He eventually gets Hugh to agree to go on a date with his mom. It's clear there's nothing between them, but this kid thinks he can just kind of will it into existence. If he says it enough, it'll come true that Hugh Grant will become his stepdad, or that will just be around in his life more.
That's his plan, to cure his mom's depression. Get her to date Hugh Grant.
I mean, I could see
Solid plan.
Could work. It could work. In an interesting scene, and I think that's about the nicest way I can put it, we learn that Marcus and his mom Fiona's song is "Killing Me Softly," which of course would go on to define the Fugees in some ways. And much like me watching this, Hugh Grant's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Were you expecting? I guess it's a double whammy that comes at you really fast. Because I was gonna say, were you expecting to hear Nicholas Hoult sing in this movie? And he sings a lot, but also Toni Collette. This is the only time that she sings in the movie, but it's not good. It was disappointing. I am so used to just, I guess, holding Toni Collette to this pedestal of excellence in everything she does. And I know she's probably intentionally being bad, because that's the joke. That's pretty cringy that they're singing. But I don't know. I didn't need that. I think that it would have been okay if it was just a kid singing. When you add Toni Collette to the mix, it's just too much.
I heard he sang a good song. I heard he had a style.
I knew, of course, that the song couldn't last forever, that I'd soon be at home, tucked up in bed. I knew it, but I couldn't feel it.
So Marcus begins hanging out with Will after school, just kind of learning more about each other, just talking. It is innocent, and I think in Marcus's case, he's looking for a mentor, and Will's just so oblivious. He doesn't see that, and he just kind of thinks he's making a little friend in all this. He learns that Marcus is being pretty relentlessly bullied at school, something that his mom is very blind to, which is, that's a real problem. Parents don't really understand sometimes the issues their kids go through, and sometimes an outside third party can bring a little bit of unexpected insight to it.
Yeah, throughout all this, I hate to say it, but I was just wondering, where is the blonde friend that Hugh Grant was dating? This is how we got into this mess. He was dating the hot blonde mom that he met at the support group. And then she just kind of disappears from the movie.
Susie.
She comes back a little bit later. Yeah, Susie. But you know what I mean? He made up the imaginary kid that he had. She bought it. They went out on a date. And then she just disappeared. We never got to see what happened. She comes back later at Christmas, but I missed her for this chunk of the movie because also she was a lot more interesting than Nicholas Hoult. I want to see Hugh Grant hang out with this kid. I want to see Hugh Grant dating the kid's mom's friend.
This sequence of the film culminates in this god-awful dinner scene that you would see on Public Freakouts or something, where Toni Collette confronts Will in a restaurant where he's on a date, asking why her 12-year-old son's been hanging out at his house, and insinuates some pretty heavy shit. And rightfully so, Will kind of takes offense to this, and as it should be, his first question is to Marcus, is you haven't been telling your mom you've been coming to my house?
And then his second question is Toni Collette was how fucking dare you?
Yeah. Can you imagine watching something like this play out in public, how skin crawling it would be?
I think the worst part is that, because he's not on a date, Alex. He's with his friend, the lady that wanted him to be the godfather of her daughter at the beginning of the movie.
You're right. Yes.
Which makes it the more damning because they have this big blow up where basically Toni Collette insinuates that Hugh Grant is a pedophile, and they have a back and forth, and then there's this moment of calm, and then his friend, Hugh Grant's friend, looks at him and he's like, well, so she basically said, so are you? And Hugh Grant has to say, like, no, of course I'm not. And it's like his friend had to ask him. Like, I understand all the other people that don't know him in the restaurant, they're wondering why he has a 12-year-old over at his house every day, but his friend would know better. It's just awkward. That's when I felt like, oh, from the guys that directed American Pie, here it is. Here's some Stifler humor.
It's a classic mix-up. Audiences will love this.
But then this was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I was rolling my eyes at just how out of control this got, but when it gets bad is when Toni Collette uses this as an excuse to get Hugh Grant to officially start parenting her son, right? Like she sits down, she calms down, she's like, okay, I'm not mad at you anymore, but you can't just disappear from my son's life now. Now you have a responsibility, and now you're going to spend Christmas with us. It's like the nerve.
Yeah, what kind of ass backwards shit is that, man?
Again, it's just that logic of, oh, well, we have kids, so we know better than you. And it doesn't matter that you just want to be left alone and that you didn't ask for any of this. No, the needs of my child come above the needs of you, somebody who has zero connection to him. And the worst part is that what's infuriating is that the movie sides with Toni Collette. The movie sides with anybody that tells Hugh Grant that his life is not, that he's not living life the right way.
He gets it from all angles at the dinner thing because they're like, someone says something about him being in the wrong, and then the waitress and his friend there agree with like the situation.
They purse their lips and just nod. They're like, uh-huh.
I hear that, girlfriend. It's Christmas time. I've never heard of a man watching Frankenstein at Christmas, but that's what Hugh Grant does.
Because his life rules.
He says, I'm just going to get drunk and watch movies. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with that? That sounds like a perfect Christmas day to me. Got to do some cooking, though, in there and make some good food. But he goes over to Fiona and Marcus's and celebrates Christmas with them. And along with Marcus's biological father, along with his mom and his girlfriend. It's an awkward scene.
Very quirky characters.
Yes. And there is like the perfect Hugh Grant moment where Marcus gives him a Christmas gift and it's a guide for single parents. And he goes, is this a joke? And Marcus goes, yeah. And it's that perfect delay. And Hugh Grant, it's pretty good. Like just the delivery of it, like that, like 2-second clip is just a perfect isolation of Hugh Grant as an actor.
Were you surprised that the movie tells us that he ended up enjoying this Christmas, which is incredibly awkward because Marcus's dad and his family, his new wife and his mom, they're kind of like on the side, and they seem like at best they think that Hugh Grant is an idiot, and at worst, like in the case of the older lady, they just don't get what's going on at all. So it's really weird when cut to 5 minutes later, and Hugh Grant's voiceover tells us that, oh, but this is actually really good. I was enjoying myself. It's like, how are you enjoying yourself? You're spending Christmas with strangers, and not even friendly strangers, just like awkward strangers.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's supposed to speak to how he's damaged or broken or something, that he gets enjoyment out of this. He is confronted by Susie, and she rightfully shames him for all the lies he's told up until this point. It leads into a big shouting match, and Marcus is going to spill the beans that Fiona tried to kill herself, but Will does the right thing and kind of cuts the conversation off at the pass and tries to move on. He does buy Marcus a CD player and a Mystical album. It's supposed to be funny because the old woman there doesn't know what rap is.
Well, it's also supposed to be funny because it sets up more cringy singing from Nicholas Hoult down the line. Now he's gonna rap.
Yeah, I kind of blocked that out of my memory, but it does pay off later with that Mystical song, the "Watch Yourself, Shake Your Ass," which was a big hit of the day, so timely.
Sorry, I was singing along to this song by Mystical. It's a rap.
You like rap?
A little. It's by black people mostly, and they're pretty angry most of the time. Sometimes they just want to have sex.
A real star enters the fray as Rachel Weisz. Her character, the creative geniuses behind this, named Rachel, so working overtime on that script, shows up and hits it off with Hugh Grant. He has to go through the process of explaining he doesn't work, which everyone vilifies, which again, Julio, if I had a massive inheritance and didn't have to work, I'd think that was pretty cool, but I guess, the United Kingdom wanted to make sure that everyone stayed in the workforce and didn't have any delusions of grandeur of retiring early.
I hate the fact that Hugh Grant actually lets everybody shame him. He seems so embarrassed of the fact that he doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, every time it comes up, he's just like, well, I don't really want to say, and I do nothing. But what do you mean? I do nothing. I would just be very plain about it. Or like, oh no, I'm rich. I don't have to work. And the fact that they try to pretend like that is not a plus when he's trying to date someone. Who doesn't want a sugar daddy?
No shit. I guess he could say, like, I'm in investments or something like that. But still, it's, the way this movie tries to, like, vilify him for being blessed in life is questionable.
Yeah, I'm in the music industry. That's it. That's all they need to know.
The office where Michael's in New York, and he's like, Ryan says to tell girls you're in finance. And a girl asks, like, what do you do? And he says, I'm a bank teller. But yes, Rachel Weisz.
She falls for it.
Well, she doesn't fall for that. She falls for the fact that he doesn't insinuate, and I'm on Hugh Grant's side here. He says he knows a 12-year-old kid who would disagree with something she said, and she takes that as to mean it's his kid.
And then he doesn't correct her.
Yes, but again, it's her assumption, so it's her fault.
I think that maybe Hugh Grant crosses a line when he actually recruits Marcus to pretend to be his kid.
Oh, dude, yeah, I kid. That's the one part. It was a bridge too far, and it's like, that's the part of the movie too that they don't overtly vilify him for. It's like he's lying to this woman about having a kid, which he's done.
But isn't he adorable?
But yeah,
because the voiceover tells us that he's falling in love.
See, and that's the thing. It was kind of funny when he did it in the beginning because there was no kid, and now he's just pretending this kid is his, and it's like, oh, isn't that cute?
He has learned nothing.
It's been an hour and 10 minutes, and he's learned nothing.
Real talk, Contrarians Corner. Rachel Weisz is gorgeous. I think that the biggest problem in the movie now is that once she shows up, you just want her to stick around for the rest of the movie. And the problem is, Hugh Grant's going to fuck it up.
Typically the case with anything Rachel Weisz is in. And she's kind of intermittent here. It seems like one of those movies they had her for 4 days and they're like, all right, we got to figure out what to do. We mentioned the kid rapping. Julio, is the Ellie character consequential enough to bring up? Because there's this girl that Marcus has a crush on in school, but in the end it turns out to just be a friendship. So why?
Well, it's consequential, I think, because it illustrates the bigger problem with the Marcus character and Nicholas Hoult's performance and just this misunderstanding, I think, that the movie has. The movie overestimates how much people would find Marcus amusing, like somebody that you want to spend time with. He's a kid to begin with, but the movie's trying to tell us that, Hugh Grant would willingly hang out with him. And then once Ellie shows up, I mean, she's older, right? Like she looks like she has a few years on him. It's not like they're in the same grade or anything. And yet she somehow finds him charming because he's rapping. And now they hang out. Like, it's not even like, I don't need it to be romantic for it to feel a little contrived, Even a friendship still feels contrived because especially because she's kind of like the tough, cool girl. And it's like, what does she see in this kid? But I think that that's just the perfect symbol of what's one of the biggest flaws in the movie. And that is that the movie assumes that everybody would find Marcus, genial. I was surprised, honestly, that Ellie makes an appearance at the very end. He really got his claws in her.
And she substantially friend-zoned him. There's no hope of like romance with them in the end.
I mean, jumping to the very last scene, he does get a little bit of a makeover that makes him look a little older. So maybe, he'll hit his growth spurt.
It's true.
Maybe he'll have a chance.
Stranger things have happened. We have a day date with Rachel Weisz and Will. He shows up and introduces Marcus as his son, who's then introduced to Ollie, who is Rachel's son. She's a single parent as well. And, they definitely don't hit it off. He's a bit protective of his mother. He's also got a Limp Bizkit poster in his room in 2002, so he's got bigger problems going on.
What's with the performance of this kid, Ollie? He yells a lot.
He does. He's very emotional, and he doesn't want his mom being taken away. Doesn't want her being with anyone but him, which is obviously like a real thing that would happen to a kid at that age. And something that does happen, and a situation and individual cases that sometimes needs to be addressed. But in this case, it's played for laughs. So, ha 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 ha.
This is, it's pretty cringy. The voiceover. Thank God for the voiceover, because otherwise we wouldn't have figured out that Hugh Grant has the hots for Rachel Weisz. It's weird that he starts having these thoughts about how he's becoming more like Marcus. You know what I mean? Like, because the voiceover tells you.
Yeah, that's what it leads into here, is him learning from this kid. And you get these long contemplative, staring off into nothingness shots of Hugh Grant. And then this is where he realizes he needs to come clean with Rachel Weisz, correct?
Yes. Terrible idea. No, I take it back. It's not a terrible idea. It's terrible execution. Like the way he comes clean it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, they have dinner, right? And he explains, I'm not his biological father, but I also don't live with him. And he tries to cute his way out of it. It doesn't work. And then he just gives up and leaves the dinner scene.
Yes. He keeps trying to change the subject. And Rachel Weisz keeps going, I'm sorry, I don't mean to harp on this, but can you explain? She's too good for this movie, Alex.
Yeah, and she's doing that perfect like her and Fred Claus, where she's kind of aghast and overwhelmed at the situation, but trying to keep a level head. And the whole scene it just plays out in a really confusing manner, because we as the audience were like, all right, so we just watched you go through this realization and smartening up sequence, and then you go into this with the dumbest possible game plan. So you've learned nothing, and correct me if I'm wrong, it could have worked if he just explained the situation, that he's kind of a mentor and a friend to him.
Exactly. She kept saying, okay, can you explain? And I'm like, if you actually tell her about the suicide attempt, it all makes a lot of sense. This kid, he doesn't have a dad, and he started showing up at your place, and now you're kind of a paternal figure. So, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's still, it doesn't make you come across as a complete creep.
When she asked, can you explain it? He should have just said, have you not been watching the movie?
Have you read about a boy?
Well, obviously, I played a part. I can see that.
No, not at all. I met you and I thought, cute guy. God, if only he had a son. A geeky teenage kid, if possible. And then you turned up at my house with Marcus and bingo. Now, I made this crazy link because of some deep psychological need in me.
Well, you shouldn't beat yourself up about it.
Sadness and conflict follow. Will is disappointed in the outcome of things. He's disappointed in himself. He has kind of an emotional showdown with Marcus and saying, I'm not your father, I'm not your brother, I'm not your uncle. What do you want from me? I can't do anything for you. And this somehow results in Marcus thinking if he sings, it will solve everything.
Yeah, Toni Collette had that ominous line earlier in the movie where she tells Marcus that when he sings, it's like sunshine in her soul, right?
She might want to get that checked out. Could be some form of heart disease.
When I hear you sing, I cringe so much that my heart flutters.
We get the pretty persuasion shot, though. Did you notice that? Where it's the point of view of behind the sign-up sheet. I know Pretty Persuasion came out after this, but that's for the purposes of our podcast lexicon. That's what I'm going to refer to it as.
Okay, Alex, gotta let you know that if you say the pre-persuasion shot, what I think of is the overhead shot of any time that somebody was performing oral sex in that movie.
That is fair. That is fair. But
so you can just think, I was like instantly started rewinding the movie. I was like, ooh, what? When did that happen?
Why?
Hugh Grant? So, okay, so he signs up to this
Kids Rock.
talent show.
Kids spelled with a Z.
Yep. Did your heart sink when you realized where the movie was going? When you realized what the climatic scene was going to be?
Yes, and it still was worse than I thought it was going to be.
Did you know he was going to sing Killing Me Softly?
I assumed, because that's his and his mom's song.
Well, he could have rapped. That was, the
Oh,
other option.
yeah. But they had like the breakdancers beforehand, and Will learns of this, and he has like a final discussion with Fiona. It's like, we need to, don't try to kill yourself again.
Can you fix your depression, please?
Yeah, an oversimplification. And, we need to be there for Marcus, who's about to commit social suicide. So they both go to the school, and within 30 seconds, this is where Fiona learns that she's been wrong the whole time and she's a bad mother and that Will has been right and everything he's saying. They get there, and the boy who's going to perform with Marcus backs out last minute because he knows he's going to get chewed up by the crowd. And the crowd starts doing the slow clap to like urge him on to take the stage. And then Hugh Grant shows up, and they have like this maybe like 3-minute back and forth, and the crowd is clapping the entire time. Like they're not stopping. And he's just explaining, like, you can't go out there and do this. He's like, but I want to. And so
there's an old guy, I guess he's a teacher, who is taking this very seriously. Like, he really cares about this talent show.
Yeah.
Like, I was glad when Hugh Grant told him to fuck off.
Bugger off. Yeah. So they hit the stage and do like a duet. And I guess the idea, Julio, here is that like Hugh Grant's going to be cool and play the guitar for it, but then he makes an ass of himself at the end so that even Marcus can laugh at him, and then everyone just forgives it. I don't know what the game plan is here. It's not like Mean Girls where everyone starts singing along. It's still really awkward, and I don't know how Marcus comes out better for it in the end.
So you think that it was intentional that he... Because the way I saw it is... Because there's a brief moment where they have the audience, right? Because first, Nicholas Hoult is singing by himself. It's going horribly, as bad as you expected, maybe worse. And then Hugh Grant joins him, and you get closer to people, and they're like, "Oh, this is cute." He's playing the guitar. And then he starts singing along. Then they hit an end point, and people are about to clap. Nicholas Hoult starts bowing, and then I felt that Hugh Grant was just caught up in the emotion of the moment, and he just kept singing, not as a plan to, make Marcus look cooler, but just because. He became that was his transformation into Marcus was completed, and he became a complete dork. He closed his eyes, Alex.
He just stole fucking Nicholas Holt's heat. He was just like, all right, this is my moment now. Either way, I don't know how it's a happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like Hugh Grant was a great singer. He was better than Nicholas Hoult, but that wasn't a musical performance for the ages.
No. And it doesn't even have like that everyone joins in and like, really feel good moment. I don't know.
The only moment that you get is the best part is the Rachel Weisz's close up. I guess she forgives him because he can play the guitar.
Obviously she does, because it flashes forward to the next Christmas and they're an item, and he's, entertaining the idea of marrying her, and everyone's there as a big happy family. And then my notes say, "Oh, fuck off," because the last shot of the movie is Nicholas Hoult looking into the camera and smiling.
It's true. His voiceover is something about how, like Bon Jovi said, "No man is an island," and then he smiles because he knows that we're onto him. Freeze frame. Dude, it's just so. So that's the message of the movie. The message of the movie is. I don't care how super awesome your bachelor life is. You may have all the money in the world and all the gizmos, and you can date a different woman every day. Have no worries. But you know what? That does not compare to your house being crowded with strangers and their kids who are going to be constantly judging you and nagging at you and asking you when you're going to get married and when you're going to have kids of your own. God, what a nightmare, dude. But that's supposed to be the happy ending. Is Nicholas Hoult looking at the camera at the end, just him kind of being complicit and being like, I know this is bullshit, but you sat through the entire movie?
I don't know. I just know it annoyed me. I was like, man, and you're going to be around forever now. I got to deal with you.
Who the fuck do you think you are? Macaulay Culkin?
Who do you think you are? Eddie Redmayne? There's two of them. They are the same people. And there's two. This could have been Eddie Redmayne, just all the same. Just put a really bad bowl cut on him. And yes, we have reached the end. Get all these fucking people out of my apartment. I want to be alone.
A man can't be an island, damn it. And that's it. Let's go to real talk, Alex. Let's see what we really have to say about Mr. Hoult, Mr. Grant, Miss Collette, and Miss Weiss. Weiss without a T. There's no relation to the directors.
Let's do it.
Strumming my pain with his fingers. Singing my life with his words. Killing me softly with his song. Killing me softly.
Who the hell is that?
With his song, telling my whole life. With his words, killing me softly. With his song, I felt so
flushed with fever, embarrassed by